Hey, hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tobias, and if you're new here, hey, welcome. A warm welcome to all of you. I really appreciate each and every one of you who's watching this, tuning into my small channel here on YouTube. I just started it basically. And here you will get a lot of Swinglish because I'm originally from Sweden. So that's just the way it is. But most importantly, I'll talk about music here because that's my big passion. And that's probably why you tuned in as well. So let's get things cracking today. This episode is about some of the things that I picked up in the last week or so. And starting out, and I was about to say the most important one, it's not the most important one, but it might be the biggest release of this week. I'm talking about Peter Gabriel and his new album, I.O. And my history with Peter Gabriel, my personal discovery of Peter Gabriel happened in 1986. And I wasn't alone in this. He released an album called So back in 1986, but most importantly, he also released a single from that album called Sledgehammer. And this is where I got hooked on Peter Gabriel big time, which happens to be another single, but no pun intended. But I think there was nothing really unique. It was just a good pop track, inspired by some old R&B tunes, I think, and then mixed up with the new electronic of the time. But what really propelled him to stardom with this track was the video for Sledgehammer, which was groundbreaking for its time. And it still holds up today, I think. But he did have a life, believe it or not, before 1986. But in my world, this is where I discovered him in 1986. So just a couple of years ago, I discovered through either a film or TV series, I can't remember, an older track with him. Because I could hear it was Peter Gabriel, but I didn't recognize the track. And I tracked it down to this album, which happens to be his first solo album from 1977. He used to be a singer with Genesis, by the way, so when he broke loose or left the group, this is what he did. So it's just called Peter Gabriel, usually called Car because he sits in a car, just to differentiate from the subsequent ones. Which is, there's another one that says Peter Gabriel, but there's claw marks on it, so I think it's called Scratch, if I'm not mistaken. Another one where his face seems to melt off, and it's called Melt within parentheses, just to distinguish between these the differences. But this one is his debut album, and it's really good, and I'm so glad that I managed to discover some of his older tracks as well, his back catalogue, if you speak. But yeah, so that's my relationship with Peter Gabriel going into this. And I'm not a hardcore Peter Gabriel fanatic. I just find him very fascinating. He's been doing some really good music. He's never been shy of experimenting with different styles like R&B, pop, electronica, rock, whatever there is, he probably done it. A pioneer of sorts. But yeah, really was looking forward to this one. And what piqued my interest was that the way he promoted this one was in January of this year, 2023, he started releasing a track from the album on the full moon, and then on every single full moon another new track, and so forth and so on. And on every new moon he released an alternate mix for those tracks as well. I didn't listen to all of these ones, just a handful of them, but it got me intrigued, and I was really looking forward to this one. By the way, I thought it was called 10 at some point, because it was going to be his 10th studio album, but it's I.O. Nothing else, but that's just me. But now it's, I have to say, now it's here. I only got it 2 days ago. It's Sunday today. I got it on Friday, so I just didn't have the time to listen to all the mixes, because this happens to be the 3-disc variant of it. There's also a 2-disc CD and of course a vinyl, but I opted in for this one when I pre-ordered it. The 3 discs are as follows. The first one is what they call the bright side mix of the album, and then on the second disc you got the dark side mixes. And the third one is a Blu-ray on this one, and it contains the inside mix of the album, plus the other two mixes, the bright side and the dark side mixes as well, in stereo. And the inside mix is in Dolby Atmos. It doesn't matter to me because I don't have one of those fancy systems, but I'm really looking forward to listen to all of these three mixes before I make my judgment on this album, so to speak. Sounds really drastic, but yeah, before I make up my mind. So this is not a review in any shape or form. I'm just trying to highlight what's in this box. But so far, listen to the bright side mix. I'm really positive. It's a bit of my spontaneous reaction to this was, oh, here he lent something from that album, and there's something from this album. So it looks like, well, that's just me. That's my interpretation of this. That he went back, took some of the things that he did on other albums in the past, and he mixed them up, and that became I.O. But I could be wrong. It's just my spontaneous reaction to this. But yeah, I really enjoy this, and it comes in a really nice packaging, and you've already been seeing this part, the Obi strip, we can call it. I ripped the shrink wrap off it that held this in place, so I have to get like a plastic sleeve to hold this in place going forward, but this is just an Obi strip with some information on it, really. This is what it looks like, and I really like the cover. Here you got Peter Gabriel, Anno 2023. Looks really good in that black and white photo. And by the way, when I pre-ordered this one through HMV here in the UK, you also got this nice postcard with it, with the same photo. So you can frame that one, and on the back side it just says just part of everything, and it's the same as says on the CD and his autograph there. It's not a real autograph, it's printed, this one, but it's really nice. Appreciate that. So I'm going to frame it, or we can put it back here, Hall of Fame wall or something like that we can create going forward here on the channel. Who knows? But going back to this one, it's a digipack containing, like I said, 3 discs in this case, and this is just how it folds out. There's some really nice artwork in there. It's an 8-panel one, so we can turn it around. There you go. Got Peter there in the middle. Yeah, really nice packaging. It also comes with a nice booklet here where Peter starts out by saying how much he enjoyed working with the different artists on this record. And we do have to emphasize this. There's a lot of different artists working with Peter Gabriel on this one. And not only musicians, we got photographers, painters and all of that. Who inspired him in his line of work for this album. And each and every page of this one highlights one of the songs. It's not the lyrics, it's just the credits and the people involved in that particular track. And each track has its own illustration here. In this case, it's a photo by Tim Shaw, and it's called The Burning of Lifting the Curse. The Burning of Lifting the Curse, it's called, yeah. So it's really nice photos, some really nice artwork here as well. See if I can pull it up. Here we go. So all in different styles, different moods, and yeah, I was really pleased to see this kind of booklet. It wasn't just a booklet full of lyrics or just a normal thank you notes. It's just something else to accompany the album when you're listening to it. And from my first listen, because I only had time to listen to it once, there's some standout tracks for me. There is Road to Joy, which is really good, a bit upbeat pop track, I would say. And then you got Olive Tree, another really good song. And my favorite so far is This Is Home. And it's interesting, speaking of This Is Home, also I was really glad to see that there was some Swedish collaboration on this one as well, with Orfej Drängar, which I think is a Stockholm or Uppsala group. Anyway, they're from Sweden, a choir, a big choir. He used them on This Is Home. And you also got so many names in here that he collaborated with on this album, so I can't name them all, but there is Brian Eno, of course. And then in some place I read Skrillex. He name dropped Skrillex in the middle of everything. And it turns out, and I think it was This Is Home, that track, which is called This Is Home, where he collaborated with Skrillex at some point. I think when the track was in its infancy or something like that, that they collaborated in some aspect. But that's interesting. So from Brian Eno to Skrillex to Orfej Dengar from Sweden as well, and so many others. Yeah. So, like I said, it's not a review, but so far I'm liking it. And once I listen to all the 3 different mixes of this one, I can make up my mind. Are there big differences or is just subtle differences in it? I'm really curious about that. So once that's done, I'll do some kind of mini review on this perhaps, and we'll see what the verdict is. Okay. So another album that was released actually 2 weeks ago, but I'm now going to review it. No, I'm not. It's not going to be a full-blown review. I'm talking about Madness and their latest album. It's called The Theatre of the Absurd Presents C'est la Vie. Or was it The Theatre of Absurd Presents Madness, C'est la Vie? Doesn't matter. This is a great album, and warning, I am biased. I'm a huge Madness fan. I tend to like most of the things that they released. But I want to say something about this one before we go into the packaging and some of the tracks. That this is the first album since 2009 that I really liked. The other ones were okay. They did release in 2009 an album. I think I got it here. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. The Liberty of Norton Foregate. A really good album, and the way they structured this was like a variety show or a show of some sort, where they did have an overture. You could see it as a film perhaps, but it's very theatrical, and it told stories about people and places. And Madness always been doing that, but this was a bit of a new thing for them back then, to do it that way. So I really appreciated this one, and I know I'm not alone in the Madness fandom. This is highly regarded, and as it should be. It's a really good album. And then after that one, they did one called, let's see if I can remember it, Wee CC Ya Ya Da Da. That's actually the title of the album. And by this time, they were still the 7 members, or was a bass player missing from this one, or I got them mixed up. It doesn't matter. Most of them were still there. But then in 2012, was it? I got it written down here somewhere. No, 2016, because I always forget about that one. They released the next album called Can't Touch Us Now. And I thought it was okay. It was an okay album. It just got an okay for me. They, at this point, one of the band members had left the band, which seems to be permanently. And that one is Shaz Smash, or Carl Smith, as he's actually named. He is a man of many talents, and one of them were to be a backup singer, or the second singer of Madness, so to speak. So he was there to back up Suggs, or Graham McPherson, as he's named. So they complemented each other really well, and he brought his own thing to the group. He did a lot of songwriting as well, played trumpet, bass, and like I said, he was a singer. But he was missing from that record, and I think Can't Touch Us Now suffered from that, or it was just in my imagination. But yeah, I really thought something changed, and it wasn't really right. And why am I talking in this length about this? Is because now, in 2023, they released this one, as I said. And this is more akin to this one. So both of them are structured like a variety show, a film, whatever you like. It's more than a record. It's people, places. Once again, it actually got a prologue here, and then if you flip the record over, if you have a vinyl like me, it starts with Act 1 and then Act 2 and so forth and so on. It's a really good narrative in this one, and the music, of course, you can recognize it's very typical Madness with the songwriting that they do. You can spot them straight away, and you can hear things from albums back in the late 80s. At least for me, that was the thing when they released Mad Not Mad, for example. There's some Rise and Fall somewhere in it. It harkens back to some of those. In some of the tunes you can actually hear some of those influences, at least to my ears, but like I said, I could be wrong. But yeah, my point is, this is the best album since this album. And that was back in 2009, so it's been a long transport to get to this one, but they nailed it this time. I think it's really great. And I listened to this one 3 or 4 times over this period, because I had a lot of work to do as well, so it was usually in the evenings. But I get so happy every time I put it on. Some really great tracks here. One of my favorites, Baby Burglar, really good. If I Go Mad is another favorite. I could basically list them all, but another one, C'est La Vie, and In My Street, which actually closes the album. I think they're really good, all of them, but those stands out to me, those tracks that I just mentioned. So this is something that's going to spin on my turntable a couple more times before this year is done, I'm sure. And as it says here, as you can see, 14 of your 5 a day. So play this 2 or 3 times a week and your 5 a day is done. Really good. Yeah, and so for the presentation, I really like the cover art on this one. They illustrate the theater of the absurd, which is probably the world we live in, with new technology, the new threats that and wars and all that kind of misery that we are faced with today. And in this particular case, because it's vinyl, it's a nice gatefold as well, where you got all the guys from Madness there in different incarnations. And the backside is just track listing, but you got a stage here to illustrate what I just said. It is the theater of absurd, and the whole thing is structured just like a play, I would say. And then on the inside you got some really nice inserts here. One of them for the second vinyl or the LP is just some lyrics, and the first insert also got this one, which is more like structured like a program or advertisement for this theater of the absurd. Really nice. And this particular one that I picked up came in, I opted in for the clear vinyl. It also came on black vinyl, of course, and I think some other colored vinyl. I can't remember now, but this is a clear vinyl. As you can see, it looks really good. I like myself a bit of a colored vinyl, and in this case a clear vinyl. Really intrigues me. But most importantly, it sounds really good. The mastering is really well, a nice and quiet vinyl. I can't hear any surface noise at all, hardly any. So yeah, that is Madness. And oh yeah, I shouldn't forget, just like with Peter Gabriel one, because I pre-ordered this one as well from HMV, and they did promise with some of the pre-orders that they will come with an autographed photo of them. So I did get one of those. It's just a small one. It looks like a bit smaller than a CD insert, but here you go, some autographs, and it seems to be genuine. I don't think, at least one of them I think is stamped. I think it's Chrissy Boys down here, but the other ones, they are actually there. And when we turn it over, it says Woody, which is the drummer for Madness, and he tends to sign them on the back, what I learned from someone, because he thought it was too cluttered to put autographs on the front here, and I do agree with him. So he put it there. Well, yeah, just a nice bonus, but overall, great record. If you like Madness, give this a go. If you never heard of Madness, also give it a go. And don't forget about this one from 2009 as well. It's a really good companion to this one, The Liberty of Norton Falgate. Great stories, great music, Madness. And then another thing that I got my hands on this week was actually a record by someone called Claire Hamill. And you might wonder, who's Claire Hamill? Well, or you might be really familiar with Claire Hamill. She's actually British born. I came in contact with Claire Hamill's music in the early 90s when watching some kind of program about different landscapes or shifting seasons. It was something like that. And because my father had this cable TV thing going on in the late 80s, early 90s, so we could get channels from the UK and so forth and so on, different countries basically. But I think from the UK, I was watching a lot of programs from the UK, and one of them was, like I said, a nature program where they had this time-lapse photography of different things like clouds, trees shifting in the seasons, and yeah, all of that stuff, accompanied by the absolutely stunning music. And it was the music was composed by just voices. Instead of playing instruments, they played voices. So it was probably sampled. Some of them were probably live, but it gave this really nice, sometimes haunting atmosphere to it. And back then we didn't have internet, so it took me some time to research where this music came from. And it turns out it was someone called Claire Hamill, and from a record that is called Voices. So I got my hands on that one eventually, and it's one of my favorite records of all time. Such nice mood music, I would say. Think Enya, but this was before, I think she started before Enya actually became famous with the music. So Enya, but with just voices instead of instruments. So perhaps it doesn't make sense, but it's really, really nice. So, back to this week's find with Claire Hamill. This one I found. And it says Claire Hamill, 24 hours from Tulsa, which is actually an old Jim Pitney song track. And I was like, is this the same Claire Hamill? I had no idea that she actually did something more poppier or, yeah, you know, more in that vein. I thought it was more avant-garde or experimental. But no, I checked it up, and it turns out it is that Claire Hamill. It is. Her lovely voice featured here in a more traditional way. When you look this up on Discogs or somewhere else, it just says pop electronica or something like that. It doesn't really match what you're going to hear, because she does a really brilliant cover of 24 Hours from Tulsa, of course. But it is more back to her roots, because she was a singer-songwriter to begin with in the early 70s. And this is exactly what it is, more traditional, more leaning to folk, really, but some really nice songs. So this is a 12-inch, so you get on the A-side 24 Hours from Tulsa, and then 2 tracks on the B-side, When I Was a Child and Speedbreaker. All 3 of them really brilliant tracks. So I was pleasantly surprised, because after I picked up Voices in the 90s, I didn't really hunt down any other records with Claire Hamill. I was perfectly fine with Voices. It's a great record. But then I found out she did something like this. And this is on Beggar's Banquet, the label. And to my surprise, when I came home, it was also on a blue vinyl. I love myself some colored vinyl, right? And it sounds really good. It's from 1983, by the way, if I didn't say it, this record. And yeah, nice dark blue Claire Hamill record there. So I'm really, really pleased to have found another side of Claire Hamill. So that's that one. And something else that popped up, and I'm not going to talk in length about this because I don't know how interested you are in musicals, but I did mention this one in one of my previous episodes that it was coming out, and now it's finally here. It arrives at the same time with the Peter Gabriel one on Friday. So I didn't have the time to listen to this, but what it is the full score for The Sound of Music from 1965, and it's the first time ever the full score officially been released. And in this case it happens to be a 2 CD packaging. It also comes in a bigger box as well with a book and some other outtakes and things like that, but this one's got all the whole score, and yeah, that's it, divided into 2 CDs. So you got Act 1 and Act 2 basically, and a nice booklet as well with a lot of information in it. I'm going to take my time to sit down and read some of that, and of course listening to this brilliant soundtracks that have been part of most of my life. Actually love this film and love the music in it. So that's The Sound of Music. Okay, the last one, last but absolutely not least. This is something I've been so excited over, and now it's finally arrived. It just arrived actually, so I haven't even had the time to take off a shrink wrap or even listen to it. But I do have a lot of records with this artist since before. I fell in love with this artist back in the 80s, and yeah, what can I say? This is Kirsty MacColl and See That Girl. This is the box set containing 8 CDs spanning from 1979 to 2000, and has a lot of rare tracks on it. It says here that it's 40 previously unreleased tracks in this box set, along with some demos, BBC sessions, other live uptakes, a lot of great stuff, and all these brilliant singles that she released over the years, along with some of the extended versions as well. And you also get, I think, other people's songs. Yeah, the last disc on this box set is other artists who recorded her songs, the songs that she had written, and so forth and so on. Yeah, so this box set, this is the ultimate Kirsty MacColl for me. Like I said, I have a lot of her records already, but this is a true gem with all these unreleased tracks. Oh yeah, and most importantly, it actually includes the 1983 album Real. It was never really released back in 1983, so this is for the first time it's been released. It's in this box set, so we get to hear the album Real from Kirsty MacColl from 1983 for the first time ever. This one came out a couple of weeks ago. It was quite expensive, so I waited around for some discounts coming around with Black Friday and all that, and I finally got my hands on it. But I'm sure even at full price, this is worth it. Like I said, it's 8 CDs, jam-packed with stuff, and you have to pause here if you want to read all of it. But yeah, it's a lot of it. I'm going to make sure that I do a full review on this one, some of my thoughts on this, once I listen through all of this. I got a lot of things to listen to now. But yeah, I was already thinking about doing something with Kirsty MacColl anyway, because it's one of my favorite artists, and it's a voice and a person that is sorely missed on this weird and wonderful planet that we live on. Okay, so that concludes my pickups for this last week or so. Thank you so much for watching once again. I'm going to be back soon. I have a lot of things planned before this year turns into 2024. So I'll be back soon. I promise you. Until then, take care of yourself and adieu.